Hope you feel better soon. Okay, when you are teaching a song, what is our order? What's the thing to do first?
Line by line.
Line by line. Okay, everybody say it.
Line by line.
Okay, what's next?
Chunk by chunk.
Okay, everybody say it.
Chunk by chunk.
Good. And then
Whole thing.
the whole song. Okay, and then do you just leave it at that? Review. Good. Review. Hopefully 2 times, maybe in some creative way. Okay, so what's the first thing you do when you're teaching a song?
Line by line,
Then?
chunk by chunk,
Then?
the whole thing,
Then?
review.
Good. And then we won't say 5 because it's like teach it at the end of the lesson before you leave. That's kind of hard to, for all of us to say at once. But right before you finish your lesson that day, before you go home, it's good to sing the song one more time. So you finish with something energetic, but also something that stays in their head, and they can sing it on the way home. And then, do you ever sing it again?
Yes.
When is a good time to sing it again?
Exercise.
Okay, so the next time you get everybody back for your lesson the next week, that's a good thing to start with as you review. So you sing the song you learned last week before you teach them something new. So they don't have like bits and pieces of a whole bunch of new songs because you like teaching new songs, but it doesn't really stick. So if you're doing it, the more you do it, the more it sticks because repetition is the key to
Learning.
what's the key to learning?
Repetition.
Okay, good job. All right. All right. How many of you, okay, so today we're doing verses. I hope you are prepared. How many of you did my suggestion and you went over it in your head? You taught your verse in your head. I am so happy to hear that. Did you notice it was different than when you're standing here talking to your mirror or talking to other kids? Did you notice the difference? Can you articulate it? It's kind of hard to explain.
Well, like, I would mess up sometimes in my head.
Yes, isn't that crazy? Because you think it's in my head and so I've got it all straight. But when you do it in your head is when you notice where you're going to trip up when you're up here. It's very, very useful. And you also notice things that you're missing or things that you should change. I was actually on my way here today teaching in my head this class, and I thought of something that wasn't planned to be in here, but I was like, that would actually help you. That's something you need to know. So as soon as I stopped, I wrote it down on the thing, because when you do it in your head, you just notice more things. I think it's because when you're practicing out loud, there's so many things to think about. Where are my hands? What's my voice doing? Who's looking at me? That sort of thing. Your brain doesn't have much time to think about the extra stuff until you get up here, and then you think about a lot of extra stuff, because time seems to slow down when you're in front of other people. I don't know if you've noticed that. So it's a good practice to do anytime you have anything to do in reference to a performance, not in the sense of watch my interpretive dance, but in performance as in you're in front of other people for any reason, and you have to do something, not just stand there. Doing it in your head is extremely useful. Very good practice. So plan on that being a requirement every single time before you get up here. Okay. You had a personal feedback sheet on week 4, on your handout on week 4. I would like you to get that out if you have it. Not all of you were able to do your song on video, so you may not have that. But if you do have it and you wrote stuff on it, I want it actually. So if you can take it out of your binder, I will give it back. But I need to see the things that you wrote down that you would like to improve. So when it is your turn, I'm going to be in the back writing notes. You are going to be bringing me your feedback sheet before you go up front. That's how this is going to work. So, one thing, this is fine for sitting here in normal circumstances, but today, one of the things that you are going to need to try to make sure you do is teaching an entire class. Now this is actually even better than where we were, because everybody was kind of like right there. And so you tend to teach right here. And you don't need to teach back there unless you have a good imagination. Well, today we're going to spread out so that you also work on things like projection and making sure your gestures are clear and easily seen by the people in the back. So first though, we work on projection. Projection is when you send your voice out beyond where it usually goes. And it's using your diaphragm. If you've ever been in any of my speech classes or plays, we've practiced this already. Your diaphragm is down here. It's where you get the heavy stuff. So if you are a cheerleader, you want to yell like this. You're going to lose your voice in about 15 seconds. Yay! You want to be able to be like, let's go, about 572 times, and you're still good at the end. That comes from your diaphragm. So not your throat, because it'll hurt. Not your like nose. Yeah. You sound like a squirrel. You want to come from down here where you have muscles that will help you get it out. Because it's not so much about the sound in your throat, it's about your breath support. That's kind of what it is. Kind of like if you want to breathe while you're swimming, breathing underwater, don't breathe underwater. That's bad. If you want to not breathe underwater for a long time before you pass out, your diaphragm is what's going to help you do that, not your lungs. Okay, so if you don't know about all that, go home, put a book on your stomach, lay on the floor, and do exercises until this part goes up and down. That's your diaphragm. Practice it. But projection, you're going to be pulling a deep breath in, using your stomach, not like that. It won't help. And you want your voice to go farther. If you have a class that's only this small, then great. You only have to talk to this length. But if you have a bigger class, obviously your voice needs to go farther. They didn't want to stay. We're going to practice that a little bit, but I want, instead of you being up here, and I'm going to walk back and forth to show you how far your voice went, you're going to be the ones. So I want everybody to stand up and find a spot somewhere in the aisles, outside or inside. I am going to, quote unquote, teach you a song. The first thing I'm going to do is sing it at the volume that I would be singing if I were singing at home, not wanting to blow everybody out of the house. What I want you to do is I want you to come closer or farther until you can hear me comfortably, like you can understand all the words I'm saying. And it may not all be the same space, because some of you might have better hearing than others. So find your space, don't just follow somebody else. Okay, you ready? Here we go. If I were a butterfly, I thank you, Lord, for giving me wings. Y'all can all hear me? Good for me, projection. This room has very good acoustics. But even when I stop to talk to you, I actually increase the volume. Did you notice that? So if I were singing, it'd be more like, if I were a butterfly. It's about double. I thank you, Lord, for giving me wings, because I want to make sure Rachel can hear every word I say, because it's a new song. I want to make sure Loren hears it. I want to make sure that you can understand me. So, if I were a butterfly, I thank you, Lord, for... That's one of the reasons that whispering gets kids' attention so well. Like, say some kids are being hyper, especially in the back, and you start saying, I wanted to teach you a story today. That changes, like, your brain is like, what? And those kids back there are kind of like, what's happening? What's going on? What am I missing? It's actually really quite powerful. But if you're trying to teach a song, that's not a good idea, because they can't stay with you. Well, how about this? If I'm whispering, can you comfortably hear me? I want you to find a spot where you can comfortably hear everything that I'm saying. So if I were singing like a princess, and I was hoping for a prince, I'm going to have to find one that's very close by. Okay. But then if I talk in my normal voice, how about that? If I'm teaching just like this, nothing big, just, my normal voice as if I were talking to a friend. Okay. Okay. Now this should also tell you that your kids have different levels of hearing and understanding. So just because Bobby right here is like, I'm good to go, that doesn't mean that Sally is. Okay, so now I'm talking in classroom voice, so show me where you can still hear me talking in classroom voice. And this is like this classroom voice. There have been times when I had a classroom that had 30 people in it, or if you are outside and where there are no acoustics, or if you are perhaps in a building and the microphone goes off and you've got 100 kids because you're at summer camp and you need to make sure everybody hears. Now, if you're singing hallelujah, hallelujah, praise you the Lord, that's not that hard. But if you're trying to teach them something new, you need to make sure you can throw your voice that far. All right, not bad. So I'm not going to make you do it from here on the video. I would like you to do it from there to me. So we're going to start with Rachel. I want you to give me the first line of your verse so that I can hear you.
Do unto others.
Very good.
Beloved,
That's not the first line. Give me a whole line.
beloved, let us love one another.
Okay.
Thy word have I hid in my heart.
Good.
Blessed are those. Be strong and courageous.
A soft answer turneth away wrath.
Good verse. You can do John 3:16.
For God so loved the world.
Okay. Now, when we go home today, you're going to be watching this video because you need to watch yourself, but I also want you to watch that spot. So this is the spot. Okay, so when you get to that, when you're looking through it, stop and go back a little bit. Listen to yourself. Can you hear yourself even on the video clearly, or are you really, really soft? And depending on that, you need to up it a little bit, or you're doing pretty good. Everybody's pretty good. Okay, I was gonna say you can come have a seat, except I want you to all find a seat that has the set of papers. So we're spreading you out all over the room so that you can be a classroom of children. So what's going to happen once it is your turn, I won't make you go this week, Loren, because you didn't know about this. So you can practice for next week, and we'll plan on starting you first thing, you and Michaela. Okay, so everybody find a spot where there's a big pile of papers. You don't need to look at them. You're not going to do anything with them right now. This is your spot so that when somebody's up here teaching a verse, you have a whole classroom of people to teach to. Make sure that this person hears you, but also this person way in the back. Okay? Now remember, you are all perfectly behaved children because we haven't gotten to the other stuff yet. You are going to be helpful and good, and that's nice. And we are going to start here and work our way back and then work our way back up. Hope's going to be in charge of time. She's got a nice little bell. Can you ding the bell? Yay! That's sweet. I was going to bring Sam the chicken, but I thought this would be a little better for the first time around. She's going to keep track of your time. I told you you have up to 5 minutes. It doesn't mean you have to be done in 5 minutes. What it does mean is when it's 4 minutes, she's going to give you a little ding. That means you have 1 minute left, so you can close it up. Or you are welcome to keep going. Just know that when the 5 minute thing dings, you're just done. And that's okay. You can just stop and go sit down. Thy word have I. Never mind, bye. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. It's just more to let you be up here for a while and practice teaching. Everybody understand? Any questions? Okay, let's get started. Yes.
My question, so we're teaching the class how to say our verse, right?
Yes, you were teaching your verse to the class. You were supposed to watch that video. It was about 8 minutes long, and she gave a bunch of different ideas. Or we also talked about you can use the ideas that we've learned for a song. You want to either teach your verse or review your verse. So you can pretend that you've already taught it and you're just doing a review game, or you can come up here, fresh off teaching the verse for the very first time. That's your choice. Yes.
Can we still do the review if not everybody knows the verse?
Yes. That is okay. Just pretend that all these people staring at you blankly know exactly what you're talking about. Okay? Here we go. You to grab the packet of papers. So now you are going to need your binder. So if it's somewhere else, go ahead and grab it and bring it back to where you are. I am going to be passing out some more papers. So you'll notice at the top it says year 2 and it has lessons. So flip it over till it says lesson 1. So you want to start there. And this is year 1, lesson 1. So year 2 goes behind year 1 and you can put them all in your binder together. These are the lesson plans for 104 lessons that you are going to have by the end of this semester so that you are prepared to teach through the entire Bible, basically. Alright. Now, this is a lot of material, but if you'll notice, if you look through it, which you will be doing this week, each lesson only has 1 page. So that's actually not a huge lesson plan. Sometimes if you get a curriculum, you're going to see a lesson plan that goes on, seems like forever, and it tells you every word you're supposed to say. These aren't those kind of lesson plans. These are the ones to basically help you if you need ideas and to give you things like review questions so you don't have to think of them yourself. It also, the original intention for them was to help people who've never taught the Bible before. So for example, somebody who's out in a village and they just believed in Christ themselves. So they've never studied the Bible for themselves and they've never taught anybody else. And they've got a bunch of kids in their village and they want to share the gospel too, and they want to teach the Bible to these kids so that the next generation grows up strong in the Lord and able to teach others, but they're thinking, I don't know what to do. I've never done this before. I don't know how to do it. They've never gone to Sunday school. They know nothing. This is supposed to be enough to help them be able to teach through the lesson that they're going to have in their hands. That's the intention. So for you, it's also going to be useful. But you'll notice the very first part is the introduction. Your homework this week is going to be to read. There's the first 3 pages of the introduction, and some of it's things that we've talked about. Should you teach children? Why should we teach children? Can children to be saved? And scriptural evidence for, the answers. But then it also gives ideas. Here are ways you can use it. Here are ways you can teach it. Here are ways to help you with memorizing verses, things like that. Because, again, you got some ideas off of YouTube. what if you're in a village in the deepest, darkest India and you have no internet, you've never seen the internet, you've never heard of the internet. You need to be able to have some ideas, maybe from outside what you're used to, that will help you. So this has a lot of really good ideas to prep for a story that kind of gives the point. Like, for example, maybe you're on the one about complaining and you have this fun little game in the beginning. What's the difference between, asking for something and complaining about something? And that gives the kids an understanding of, oh, this is the concept we're talking about and this is what it looks like in my life, that sort of thing. So this is going to give you a bunch of ideas. We will be talking over it next week as well, but for this week, your homework is to read the first 3 pages and also to pick 3 lessons. So you can pick whichever lessons you want, whichever ones you find interesting, and you're going to read through the entire lesson plan to get an idea of what the lesson plan looks like. And we'll go over the pieces and parts next week and get more familiar with it. But this little page right here that doesn't have the holes in it, this is your homework sheet. So, boys and girls, we all have homework this week that you're actually going to have to bring back next week. It asks you questions. So, for example, the first question, why do you think people make lesson plans instead of just telling a story? Well, I kind of gave you the answer to that, but I want you to think about it in your own realm or in somebody else's realm. If you were going on a missions trip and you wanted to leave some stuff behind, would you want to leave lesson plans? Well, if so, why? If you grew up in a church that didn't really teach very good Sunday school, or maybe they just taught the story and that was it, and you never really thought about the fact that the story had something to teach you about God, it was just a story. And so you grew up with like, yay, this was fun, but the same as if you'd watched a movie, no difference. And you're like, I wish somebody had thought about the fact that every story teaches us either who God is or who we are or something God wants us to learn about, the way he wants us to live. So things like that, I want to know your thoughts. Number 2, there are no songs in the lesson plans. Now we'll go ahead and answer that right now. Why do you think that is? No songs. Let everybody else think too. Hang on. I want you to think about it. Everybody think. Why no songs? I've seen lesson plans with songs getting translated into other languages. Interesting. Why do you think, Rachel?
Because they might distract from the lesson.
Okay.
They also could add, but
Okay. What do you think, Ho?
They are not necessary. I mean, they just review, so it's for if you have extra time.
Okay. What do you think, Lizzie?
well, that the teacher might not even know the song.
Okay. I love songs. I think songs should be part of lessons. I think they add to the lesson because you get stuff into your head that's true unless you're singing Father Abraham. But songs can be a real benefit to the lesson plan. But what if they don't know the song? What if I said, everybody sing It's If I Were a Butterfly? None of you know If I Were a Butterfly except me. So the only way you could succeed is if you came and found me and I taught you the song. What if it's a different language? So now they've got to try and look up the song and find the song and then translate the song. What if it's not their music style in wherever they live? There are lots of different music styles even within the Christian community and the Christian world, and so finding songs that fit each individual group that you're trying to give these to is nigh unto impossible. Actually, it's impossible. And so sometimes it can be, you want everything in your curriculum to benefit what you're trying to do. And so if you have a lesson plan, it doesn't have songs, you can add the songs if you have time. But again, like you said, it's not essential. So more important that you teach the truth than that you have a cool song. So if anything has to go, that's probably it. But teaching the scriptures, teaching the verses, that sort of thing. But the biggest reason I would say there's no songs is because if you're giving this to countries all over the world, it's just impossible to find a song we all know the same one. Okay, then now we're getting into your opinions. So you can read along with me. Number 3, do you like the idea of using lesson plans that are part of a curriculum, or you'd rather make your own? This is often the difference between creative-minded people and literal-minded people who don't like coming up with ideas. So my husband likes to know exactly what he's supposed to do, give him a lesson plan, give him exactly it, and I'm like, I'll make mine, which works out fine because I wrote these. So in the plans for the lessons, which section do you think will be your easiest to do or that you will like the most? Sometimes the one you like the most is not necessarily the easiest, but you're like, that is my heartbeat, that's my favorite part, I love that part. I love teaching Bible verses, or I love teaching the story, or I love doing the review or playing games or something like that. I want to know why. That tells me a lot about who you are and about what you like to teach. And the other side isn't there. So turn your page over. I'm going to give you the last questions. Number 5. You can just write down which hardest or worst. want to get really elaborate, you can say, which part of the lesson plan do you think will be the hardest for you or the one you will like the least? And why? I want to know why. Which one is the hardest? You're like, I'm so bad at this because I'm not good at telling story, or this is going to be really hard because I can never remember the Bible verse, I never remember to put the reference in, etc.
It's okay if I have a pen too, Miss Kim.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to know which is your easiest, which is going to be your hardest. And then the last question is, give me 2 stories, maybe the ones you read out of the 3 ones, or 2 lessons actually. Give me the number of the lesson, if you would, that you think you would enjoy teaching. Because as you know, you are going to be teaching one of these at some point. So give me 2 ideas, and hopefully we can get you one of those 2.
Wait, what? Can you say that again?
Yeah, give me 2 stories or 2 lessons that you would enjoy teaching. So kind of your 2 favorites. Mm-hmm.
These are just 2 copies of the lesson plans, right? One has the introduction, one doesn't.
One is year 1 with the introduction. The introduction is 3 pages, and then it's the year 1 lessons. And then the other stack is the year 2 lessons. And just so you know, when you get the lesson plans, you'll probably notice, but what this does, it doesn't go from Genesis all the way to Revelation straight through so that it takes 2 years. And the reason for that is I didn't want it to take a year and a half before you got to Jesus. So what it does is it goes up, it starts in creation and it goes up to a certain spot in the Old Testament, and then it jumps up to Jesus, and we go through Jesus in a little part of the New Testament. And then so that's for year 1. So if people only do 1 year curriculum, they still get the gospel, they still get, the essentials. But then in year 2, it goes back and does a little review, and then it starts from there and finishes the Old Testament, goes to Jesus again, hits all the important things about Jesus, and then it finishes up through Revelation. So that way, it's kind of chronological, but then again, it's also not, to make sure we get the most important things in so that every kid gets Jesus every year. That's the idea. All right. I had some stuff up here, and I don't have time to talk about it. So we will put that off until next time. So with the 2 minutes that we have, I'm going to go ahead and give you your feedback sheets so that you know for yourself things. I'm very impressed. Take these as I'm cheering you on. I'm your coach. It's like, this was really great, but I want you to work on this for next time. So that's the idea. And I enjoyed reading your own personal feedback because it shows me that you're paying attention, and most of you know yourself pretty well. That's good. And that's all we're going to get to now. We'll save the rest for next week. But have a wonderful week. I will send you an email out that reminds about the homework and etc. and also sends this video so you can watch yourself. Watch it with the feedback sheet. Because if you're reading something and you're like, I don't remember doing that, then watch it again and find it, because then you'll notice it. Remember, look at it from a student's perspective, and it's always a good idea. And remember, when you're watching this, just so you know, don't look at it as if you're doing a speech. There's a difference between when you're watching yourself do a speech, and you're like, oh, did I stand correctly, and did I, certain things that are important for speechness. But teaching, look at it from the perspective of a student. If I was a little kid, would I understand what's going on? Would I enjoy what's going on? Would it be clear what I'm supposed to do? That sort of thing. Okay, so that's it for this week.